right, guys. So this is my attempt to do something different. Um, we're gonna have a awesome episode today on this, the Order of Leather Dragons. Um, I have a little intro and everything for you guys. So let me just say it. So some journeys start in books, others start on the land itself. Today we speak to a man who followed the bloodline of Hispanicity across oceans and found himself carrying its flame into the future. This is the Order of Leather Dragons. Welcome to episode one, the Californian Knights. Welcome, Zacarias.
Thank you, Joaquin. I appreciate you. Yeah, I love that introduction. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, man, you have inspired me to do this. So if people don't like this, it's partly your fault. So, anyways,
I love it. No, I'll take the risk.
it's
That's what we do. We're fighting.
yeah. That's what we do. Yeah, we're used to fighting. Our first guest is Zacarias from Hispanidad Translations, a Californian by birth, a knight of Hispanic memory by destiny. From Argentina to Spain, from translations to film, Zacarías has helped light the way for a new understanding of how we are, or who we are, and where we come from. So, Zacarías, what made you do all of this with give us a little bit of your background so people can understand where
Of
you're coming
course.
from.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Joaquin. I've known you for it feels like a couple of years now.
Mm,
Um, I think before I saw a lot of movement online, that's why I followed you. You were one of the first people to follow me, so I was really excited. But yeah, so this whole thing stems out of a love from our culture, and I say our culture, right?
mm,
You are a Dominican, right? A Dominican
hmm
Republic, the
This is
Dominican
correct.
Republic,
Yes.
and I'm from California. There's a lot of Mexicans over here.
Hmm hmm
And so I think growing up in California, at least in the time when I was young,
hmm
just having an understanding that there is kind of a difference in culture between the WASPs, and the Hispanics, right? Mexicans, no, our Chicano is also another word we've used out here. In fact, I have family members who helped establish some of the art groups or organizations and art groups of Chicano movements, right back dating back in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of stuff that I heard growing up was a lot of the indigenismo
Hmm
that's kind of been tied into that.
hmm hmm
And so and which probably had a time and a place
hmm
maybe back in the day when they were fighting for rights for farm workers. Um, and so that place that always had a special place in my heart, right? Having that love for my culture. My mother made sure that I was very aware, that not to feel bad for being maybe darker skinned or
hmm
being Hispanic, right?
hmm
Mexican American.
hmm
I have other uncles and aunts who may not have seen it that way either. So I got a wide variety of thinking.
Right.
Some people who ended up becoming more, maybe, let's say, American,
Right.
maybe which is like from the other side, it's like frowned down upon too. So I just I kind of saw that it didn't have to be always either or all the time, but I
Right.
definitely
Right.
needed to have love from our culture, right? And
Right.
that was
Right.
I always had that for me. So that's kind of where it stems from. Um,
Moms. Right. Moms. Good
yeah,
old moms.
moms, yeah, my mom, yeah, my mom is very cool.
Right.
Yeah, she's an interesting person. But anyways, that's kind of where it got started. And then eventually moving to Argentina, as you mentioned,
hmm
I my mother sent me there to live there to learn Spanish because I grew up not speaking Spanish. I'm an English speaker, and my siblings are English speakers. A lot of my cousins are English speakers, like only, and some are bilingual, especially on my
Right.
dad's side. But yeah, I have a lot more that are only speak English. And that's the same with my mom. She's the only one that speaks Spanish out of 9 kids, right? And so they've been here for generations. Hispanics have been around for a long time, helping create this country
Right.
in the United States. So, anyways, but they're not mutually exclusive, right? It's
Right.
kind of like being Catholic, right, or
Right.
being Hispanic. It doesn't have to be anti-patriotic, right? It doesn't mean you have to hate your country where you live. You can still celebrate your culture, live your faith, live your culture, and that's kind of what we do. So now it's like it's come to the point where after living in Argentina, it opened my mind a little bit more.
Mm.
I eventually became Catholic. I became a convert on my own at the age of 19 or so. And And that kind of also helped introduce me to certain topics about history because I saw a lot of patterns of church history being lied about a lot, right? By either sensationalists or people in bad faith for whatever reason they hate the church. I mean, everyone has their reasons, right? But they would jump onto stereotypes, right? Typical stereotypes, tópicos típicos, right? And so I kind of saw a pattern there, and I started to see a pattern when Saint Junípero Serra was canonized, and it kind of all came together that this Hispanic figure who was a very great individual who was we consider the founding father, like como padre, like a father, like a Catholic father of California, right? So he's literally like the founding father of California, and so because of the missions that were established throughout California, despite the difficulties of mission life, the man was ambitious and he had a love for the Native Americans. And I saw how the media and even how schools began to change the tone about him and start to defame his character. And that's when it kind of started. I took me down a rabbit hole where I started to see the same pattern for many other Catholic Hispanic figures in history, like Hernan Cortes or so many other ones, right? I wouldn't
Right.
say obviously Hernan Cortes is not a saint, but he also carries his own Black legend, right? And that's how we discovered the Spanish Black legend, which is a real academic phenomena. Maybe and that's kind of what opens a lot of people's eyes a lot to what's happening here and why it's on purpose that these figures are lied about so much, why Hispanic Catholics are lied about so much more maybe than other individuals in
Right.
history who
Right.
kind of get a pass, like
Mm.
Maybe like who knows, like I was just gonna drop random names, right? But like Charlemagne, Alexander Magno, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar,
Napoleon.
Napoleon. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Yeah, we have a love for the French and English. Yeah, and the English people have a love for the French. And
Mm.
interestingly enough, I don't see the same bitterness. Um, I don't see the same bitterness from English speakers in the United States, not on the same level toward the British crown versus Hispanic American countries toward the Spanish crown. It's not the same. Like they don't have that same type of envidia, right? And the United States has kind of become its own empire in its own way. So I guess it doesn't have that insecurity maybe. But
Hmm.
whatever the case may be, I think it makes you question, makes you think outside the
Right.
box.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyways, uh, I started to reach out to people to help me with this whole Junipero Serra
Mm.
discussion,
Mm.
trying to find platforms online,
Hmm.
bigger platforms, where we could talk about this. And I found a man named Brigada Antifraude,
Hmm.
a platform, and I loved this man's style. He's a
Hmm.
little bit older than me, maybe by a couple of years, but
Mm.
he's got a nice energy, and he
Yeah.
matches people's aggression, and he'll match it, and he'll scoff, he'll get into it with people, and he's not scared to do so. He's not a believer. He's not a Catholic like I am, right? But you'll find him on the right side of history, just defending common sense, defending putting things back in his perspective. Because I think what's happening out there in Spain maybe is that a lot of innocent, I would say innocent people, random Spanish people are kind of catching strays, catching
Mm.
strays with all this hate, and they're trying to realize it themselves, like, hey, why are you saying, why should I give you back the gold? Like my folks were never even over in Peru, right? Well,
Right.
why are
Right.
we staying
Right.
over here? So they're starting to see a lot of the same things, like, huh, what? They may not be really nationalistic or really Catholic, but they're starting to feel some of that they're trying to feel in that kind of those, I don't know, those,
The venom.
yeah, the venom, right? And so it's
Right.
not fair, right? And I think that's why they're kind of interested in the information too. But there's a lot of Hispanics out there, a lot of Mexicans here too. This will benefit all of us to kind of reevaluate how we're telling our history, because this is our history, right?
Right.
These are our
Correct.
ancestors. A lot of the times, a
Right.
lot of us are mixed blood.
Right.
It was not all through rape and pillage, like we're told. Like there was a
Right.
lot of legal measures taken in order to protect Native Americans and to promote more mestizaje, the more blending, right? Things that were prohibited from like the eugenic era, or the 20th century, all the way in the United States until like the 1960s. But no, like the Spanish monarchs were permitting this since Queen Isabella Católica in
Right.
1503 in the Caribbean. I think she wrote to Nicolas de Obed. I'm not sure if saying his name right,
Nicolás
but
Obando.
is that the last name?
Nicolás
And then,
Obando. Hmm.
thank you so much for correcting me. And then also in 1514, with the law, there was an official law in January 1514 that, with the help of King Ferdinand, her widowed husband at that time, who established a more formal law as well. So this is no accident, right? This is not by accident. This is something that the Spanish crown saw as beneficial mutually for the local populations of these discovered lands and for
Hmm.
themselves as well to strengthen their power. Because what had been happening with the Spanish Empire upon arriving was uh, creating alliances, even in the peninsula, where what is
Right.
now Spain. They
Right.
brought together so many Christian kingdoms together under one language with their Christian religion in order to combat the presence of the Muslims who had been, um, who had invaded 700 years before. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, basically, it was a common, I would say it's a common pattern, right? And so that's what they did over in the Americas too. They didn't just annihilate, or they didn't seek to exterminate every single group, every single
Yes.
nation. And in fact, they started to do the opposite. They start to solidify, make different houses, noble houses,
Correct.
Native Americans who are recognized as noble houses, just like any other houses in Europe as well. Like you have the Incans who became very important noble houses. They ended up mixing with many powerful houses from the peninsula as well. You had the Tlaxcalan noble houses. You had, and then a lot of these individuals who also participated in the major conquests all around these discovered lands as well. Like the Tlaxcalans accompanied all the Spanish into the Philippines, right, to fight the Japanese out there. And also the Mexicas eventually participated in the conquest of later
Yeah,
on.
yeah, it's amazing. That's straight
Yeah.
out of a straight out of a comic book.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's
It's
amazing.
a Game of Thrones, right?
It's
It's
like
un Juego de
it's the
Tronos.
real Game of Thrones.
It's literally. Hmm.
And you could have thought that maybe after 800 years or so of being occupied by a hostile um, people, that you would come out of it being kind of, okay, now it's my turn to be hostile.
Hmm.
And instead, the opposite happened, which is a great testament of the fortitude of the Catholic faith in, well, Spain and the monarchs. Even though obviously bad things happen, they still have their north quite well established, which is that we're all human, so we're all made under the image of God. So you cannot enslave people. You just don't do that. We're not going to do the same thing they did to us, which is a great testimony to their character. So,
Oh yeah.
so Zacarias, when you were, I want to know, when you were in Argentina, was there a moment where it all kind of just sparked? Like okay, you're in California, right? They send you all the way to the opposite side of the Americas,
Yeah.
and to learn a quite unique style of Spanish, by the way. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. It's great. It's my favorite. It's like music.
It's
Um,
yeah.
was there a moment where you everything like kind of clicked? Was there like
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me personally, I mean, as I walked the streets, I started to realize just how similar it was to Mexico, like walking in Mexico streets, from like some of the cobblestone ground and some of the dogs on the loose and some of the, some of, and the girls too, some of the little characteristics. And so it was not like, it was kind of different from the United States, right? It's just a lot different, right? And so
right,
and then maybe the way the streets were built, like maybe by squares, kind of like that Spanish style. And there were just a lot of things like that I started to realize in the commercials, they had some of the same kind of similar humor.
right.
And I was like, this is not, American, what American, right? North American, United States of
Yeah,
American.
right, 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 right.
This is a very, yeah, like something I would see in Mexico, like some commercial like that, a lot of very animated, very fun.
Exactly, exactly. So,
So,
so the people and everything, and the way things look, even though people from Mexico might be more mestizo than people in Argentina, still the spirit is kind of the
oh yeah.
same.
Oh yeah, it's very similar. And yeah, the Catholic faith too. Obviously, they have a church, little plaza with a church on. In the
Uh,
plaza, they got one of those in every town.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yes, yes,
very
correct.
similar in that way too.
Same here in the towns. It's basically it's like that movie España, the first globalization, like
Oh
where
yeah,
they show different parts of Latin America. I'm gonna use Latin America because people know what it is, but Hispanoamerica, where you wouldn't know where you are because it's so very similar.
yeah, that's so true.
It's you don't
That's so
know.
true.
Hmm.
When I was in Madrid a couple weeks ago, I was walking around at night. I'm like, this reminds me of Argentina. I was just thinking, I was like, this is wild. And I was telling someone that they're like, no, 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 Argentina reminds you of Madrid. Okay, they corrected me. I was like, I'm just saying for my own personal self, like this is
Yeah,
how I felt
exactly.
walking at night, hanging out, having fun, walking this the building, the style. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about that, your trip to Spain. You got invited to speak over there
Yep.
because the people of España, la primera globalización, and Hispanidad, Canto de Vida y Esperanza, are making a new movie. Could
Yeah.
you talk first about the movie thing, and then we can talk about your trip?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the whole so I had been in touch a little bit with they call themselves Canal Hispanidad now, like Hispanicity channel
Mm-hmm.
in English. But they're the ones who created España la primera globalización, which I
Mm-hmm.
think came out around 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And then
Right. Around there.
Hispanoamérica, which came out last year in 2024. And
Mm-hmm.
so they just do phenomenal work. Jose Lopez Linares is the creator, and he's actually won awards in Spain before for other movies. And he even made this one on the World Cup, which was really good too. I watched it. But anyways, they reached out to me to help promote the Hispanoamerica film. They really appreciated my channel. It's kind of
Mm.
getting bigger, and they said, "Can you help spread the word about this movie coming out?" And I said, "Of course, like I would love to." I said, Absolutely. I love helping as much as I can. Whatever I can do, I'll help." And so then eventually they invited me out there. I couldn't go for the pre-premiere to watch it with like the people in the documentary, and I wasn't ready for that at all at the time, about a year ago. But
Right.
then later on, they told me that they had plans to make a new movie
Mm-hmm.
called We the Hispanos,
Right.
the Hispanic roots of the United States,
Right.
and which is something I've become familiar with over time, obviously because I'm in the United States here. I've been in
Mm-hmm.
touch with big associations like Héroes de Cavite, who are very strong in that work about promoting the Hispanic roots of the United States. I learned a ton from their specialists. Um, I've been on streams like this I remember the 4th of July last year with other individuals from one was from Puerto Rico, one was from others were like Hispanics that were living in the United States. And I've been constantly being, told and told and told, about Bernardo de Galvez and, from that helped the United States fight against the British for the independence of the 13 colonies. Basically, many people don't know this part, even people here in the United States, that Spain helped fight against the British and help the 13 colonies get their independence because Great Britain was rival of Spain for so long. But anyways, besides the point, they asked me if I wanted to be in the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to come through California and interview a bunch of way more qualified people than me. I'm just a mere translator. But I said, absolutely, I would love to, and I can, I'd love to help you out too, as you get here. I just want to make sure y'all are good. So they showed up, and we ended up meeting in Carmel, and I got interviewed in and I want to say this is the beginning of January, so they've been moving fast,
Real
but
fast, yeah.
really fast. And so I had a few months to get ready, and they met with me, and they interviewed me in San Juan Bautista, which is a really nice mission over here, and it's actually nearby the town where my dad grew up. When he came from Mexico, he went to a place called Watsonville, which is known for farm picking.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of near this mission there, and it's very rural, very it's not a big city. It's got a lot of also gold rush history in it too, because it kind of became a place where people stopped over during the gold rush. So anyways, it was just a very interesting town. They loved it, and then yeah, eventually I talked to them after they got back to their homes, I guess, afterward,
Mm-hmm.
like a week after they stopped by California.
Mm-hmm.
And then they invited me out to Spain, right?
Mm.
They took care of me. They took care of me well out there, and they wanted me to speak in their conference though. And so, yeah, basically, that was in March. That was just this past March, and yeah, I just came back. It was the first time I've ever been to Spain before. I had never been there before, so it was an amazing experience, and I got to meet so many people that I look up to. People I
Wow.
translate for free for. I just send shoot over translations. People who don't even know what I do, but I've been watching them for years, and I'm like, hey,
Right.
you have no idea, like your work has been amazing, and yeah, so many different individuals. So I have some books here from some of those people, and it was amazing.
It was surreal, I bet.
So fast.
Yeah, yeah. So, we the Hispanos seek to highlight Hispanic heritage in the United States. What part of the heritage do you feel most Americans don't fully see yet?
Hmm. Oh, um, a part of the heritage, I would say the history and the contributions from Hispanics throughout the generations. I think that kind of gets looked over a lot. There was a lot of infrastructure,
Mm,
meaning like both proto industries, like the cattle industry that was left behind from Spain and Mexico, even though mostly Spain because the Southwest was only in Mexico for a few decades before being incorporated into the United States, before losing it to the United States. But no, it was for hundreds of years. It was a part of the Spanish Empire, and they had on the frontier kind of like the dragons thing. They had,
yeah.
dragones de cuera, right? You had
Right.
like basically like patrolling the frontier of the Spanish Empire, which were these individuals with leather protection and from to protect them from arrows and attacks. And so they rode horses, and these were some of the first cowboys before cowboys was a thing in the United States. And so that whole culture is derives from the Hispanic culture. And that's why we have so many elements of cowboy culture all throughout what are now the remains of the Spanish Empire. You have gauchos in South America. You have others in Peru, in Chile. And so it's something that's been romanticized. The men with the horse and yeah, the meat, the food,
The
all that.
nature. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the mastery, of using the lassos. You see
Right,
it in
right.
Mexico too. And so, yeah, so it's not something that just was born, willy-nilly by
Mm,
English speakers here, but no, it's what English speakers found here and they tied on to, and they to help them survive
of
and to
course.
get across the vast regions. So that's a big one. I think it might, as I say all the time, it might be a hard pill for some people to swallow. I remember I dropped a video recently. Yeah, people were whew, they're up in arms. They're, just like I predicted. But they were up
Oh,
in
wait, wait,
no.
wait, wait. What did they say? Come on, give me something. What did
Okay. I
give me
know
something?
sometimes I assume people see every single comment, right? No,
Mm,
individuals well, I said it I said it too. Even though these are the cowboy culture has Hispanic origins, they have evolved in their own way, in
of
little ways.
course, of
They have their own
course.
little looks to them, right? And
Mm,
both in Mexico and in the United States. Um, but to think in those nationalistic terms is not thinking deeply enough, right? Because it's even though they have their differences, their origins are Hispanic. And so when the Spanish brought the first cows and the first horses and introduced all this, so I saw individuals range from yeah, American, maybe I'd say chauvinists that are, no, 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 cowboy culture's our thing. Yeehaw. And then you have like, Mexican nationalists, chauvinists who are like, no, 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 vaqueros are our thing, like ahua. And then you have even indigenistas who are trying to, now that's just, to me, I just makes me laugh.
no,
But,
no, come on. Which
and,
cows are you talking about?
exactly. I saw all kinds of theories. They're saying they came from Asia and they showed
Oh
up from
my
Asia. And
goodness.
yeah, they were just making stuff up, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so,
The
and when I
Longhorn. The Longhorn
when
is from Spain, right? The
yes,
right.
from yes, exactly. Some I saw comments that said it was from the Canary Islands, and others said it was from southern Spain. But what I've heard is from my friends. I want to say it's southern Spain, like southern peninsula, but I could be wrong. I could be the Canary Islands. But the details. It's at least we're honing down, right? The evidence has us honing down in a very very specific areas, which is Spain. And so, but yeah, no, it's very fascinating.
Yeah, the
But
whole
yeah,
order thing, it's a nightly order and it's pretty badass. I mean, the thing that made me want to name this channel like an English version of that was because the whole thing, it exudes testosterone. I mean, you're in the frontier, you're on your horse, you got your leather on, you got your shield, you know what I'm saying? You're
yeah,
protecting. I
that's right.
mean, that it's everything. It's like riding today's version will be riding a Harley or whatever, you know. It's kind of
Oh
that
yeah,
that feel
totally.
of, that feel of freedom and
Freedom. And adventure.
identity. Hmm.
Yeah, and identity. And here's the interesting part too. When we say it's Spanish or Hispanic, right? I think people's minds. Some people have the mindset that we're talking about like white Europeans, right?
Right, right.
But by then, the Spanish Empire was incorporating so much for generations that you have Hispanicized natives, huge towns, and they're Hispanics. They're Spanish, right? They're part of the Spanish Empire. They're subjects of the crown, and for generations they've been Christians.
Right.
And so they are the ones. A lot of these individuals are on the frontiers like that. They become presidio soldiers too. Lots of mestizos as well, mixed people like you and I.
Mm.
So yeah, it's it's not just some one look, right? Homogeneous
Right.
one look. Like, no, it's a lot of different. It's kind of what we are. This is our ancestry.
I think what people find offensive is that a lot of things that people think are
Mhm.
new actually aren't. And
Exactly.
that hurts their ego, you see?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you have to give it up to the bad Europeans for whatever reason, some
Mhm.
people think that you are kissing the boot of the evil white
Mhm.
man, since it's like, you know what I mean? And
Oh
so
yeah, no,
because
I hear that all the time. It's funny to me. It's like I've heard it since I started my work when I had like one follower, and I was like, oh dude, like that's not what I'm trying to do here at all. You
right,
have no
right,
idea.
right, right.
You have no
It's
idea how much we're trying to unify everyone and talk about our
exactly.
commonalities, right? And it's interesting to me, right? Because that's what this work is, right? It's just talking about what we have in common, Because
Hmm.
God knows we've been talking about how different we are all the time, right?
Yeah,
And
right,
look where that
right.
leads us bickering over nonsense, right? And so no, it's time we start realizing how much more we have in common.
I think that's the best point that you can make in all of this is how much we have in common and concentrate on that.
Mhm.
And nobody got here by themselves. So nobody that's alive today just spread it out of the ground that day. That you owe
Yeah.
your existence to the whole line of ancestors that come from all walks of life. I mean, I did an ancestry DNA thing. It's like 13 regions. Like, dude, I can't be mad at anybody. I got all kinds of cards I can play too, also. But but I don't roll like that. Any,
Yeah.
anyway, so how did it feel to be invited to speak in Spain itself to carry a message from the new world back to the old?
Uh, well, it was very powerful. He was very powerful. It's interesting because there's this meme that I've seen, and it's like some of us Hispanistas that are here from the United States, we're sometimes we can be pretty hardcore because maybe we got our backs against the wall with
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
different types
yeah,
of
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I brought that energy a little bit out there. I was nervous. I was super nervous because it was in Spanish. It's not my stronger language, but I had to do my best, and
And
just
and
pretty much
that you
present.
did, and that you did, because I
Thank
saw
you,
that.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you. And I just decided to stick it to what I know, right? Stick to what we know.
Yeah.
Don't overstep our boundary, and like yeah, and just express what I've been feeling and what I've been seeing, and online.
Mhm.
It's like another world. It's like the Wild Wild West, right?
It
And we're out
is.
there. We are the Dragones de Cuerda
Yes.
in those
Yeah.
areas, in those platforms.
Correct.
Like, yeah, and so I just told that part, and I explained that I just wanted to give hope, right? Leave it off on a positive, optimistic place because there's a lot of lot to look up to. There's a lot to look excuse me, there's a lot to look forward to.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
exciting work. It's very
Yes,
enriching.
it is exciting work. And one thing I found interesting or exciting as well is how close are the people in the Hispanicity movement. They are
Oh,
very supportive, incredibly supportive. It's
yeah.
like they come out of from nowhere, like,
Yeah.
let's do something. I'm like, sure.
It's true, right?
It's
It's
yes,
true.
yes.
And
And
and then in Spain too, like I felt like I was they made me feel at home. They showed me so much love. So
mhm.
many young people, older people, so many people came up to me that didn't follow me for a couple of years, and they just showed me so much love and appreciation for this work, for all this. And it's worth all the skirmishes. It's worth
Yes,
all the
yes.
labor, all the
Right.
translating, I don't know if you know this, but I mean, I do a lot of it. I just do from the bottom of my heart for free. Like I just because I'm passionate, I carry
Right.
this energy, and it's blessed me. It's blessed me. God has blessed me with so many different types of friends all around the world. So it's funny when I came back, over here, some individuals that I worked with and some other people that I know, they give Spanish people a bad rap, right? Obviously, they don't know any better. They probably never even been there to Spain. But then, oh, I heard they're all stuck up. Were they all stuck up to you? And blah blah blah. I was like, not me. No, I actually I felt really comfortable, really safe
Like,
over there.
yeah, maybe even more so than where you might
Exactly.
live. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like exactly. Like I saw women walking around at night in Madrid, and at like 4 in the morning. I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. Like that's
Right.
amazing. Like over in San Francisco, you don't really see that here. Like
Hmm.
it's not the
Right.
same.
Not the same. So, how do you see the relationship? today between Spain and the Americas? Sibling rivalry, old alliance, or something deeper?
I'm sorry, you said rivalry with who? With the
Oh,
Spain and
it's a sibling rivalry, like
yeah,
like brothers, like
yes. Yes.
or old alliances, or something deeper.
Are you talking about with Spanish people and Hispanic Americans? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, Spain
Uh-huh.
and the Americas in general.
Oh, oh, like what I'm saying now? Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
well, I see a bit of both, you know. I see, well, I have like this, for example, I just what I can go off just off the top of my head, like the statistics that I have of folks who follow me, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of unique. I have a big following in the United States, but
Hmm.
it's very spread out. It's not one specific city. It's not like San Francisco or New York, or LA. It's not like a big cities all just following me. You know, it's like spread out well across the United States. And
Right.
it's a second country that follows me. You got is like number one, but right behind it's the United States. But
Mm.
in Spain, it is like the city is Madrid. Like that's one of the main cities. Versus my second city is actually Mexico City. So it's very interesting how
Mm.
so that's like, yeah, so Madrid's the top city, Mexico City's the second city that follows me the most. And then on the other, it's the country that follows me the most is Spain. Then it's United States. So it's very spread out throughout the United States. It's very interesting.
Madrid and Mexico City, not bad at all.
Not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. All right. Okay, so what symbol, phrase, or tradition best captures the spirit of the Hispanic world for you?
For me, I say the El Aspa de Borgoña. Have you heard of it?
Oh,
That's
yes.
fine. Yeah, I'm living dying behind that symbol. I love that symbol.
Could
Yeah,
you
you know,
could
you
you
can see
explain?
this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, like
I
this
was looking at it at the beginning.
this right here is made out of silk.
Mm.
It's from this company, this Alexandra de V right here.
Hmm.
She makes these pañuelos, right?
Yeah.
That are made out of silk and this one's got Hernan Cortes on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's soft.
I
And
mean, maybe you could drop the link to it, so I can check it out. And
of
it
course,
looks pretty medieval. I like that stuff.
yeah, it looks like parece una tarjeta de barajas, right? It looks
Yeah,
like a deck
exactly,
of cards.
exactly,
It has like him
exactly.
there and then upside down. And it has the Sacred Heart of Jesus in his hand, like in his hand on the
Right,
other
right,
side. But
right.
anyways, no, no, no. I would say that El Aspa de Borgoña
Hmm.
is the cross of Saint Andrew.
Hmm.
And that is a very, well, that is one of the martyrs of Jesus,
Hmm.
man, who died in an X-shaped
Hmm.
cross, crucified in that way. And so as we know, many European kingdoms they adopted different patron saints,
Right.
and that was the patron saint that the House of Burgundy adopted. So they call it La Cruz de Borgoña or La Espada de Borgoña. So
Hmm.
Burgundy is Borgoña in Spanish,
Hmm.
and yeah. So what happened was is that the the Spanish Empire had been moving and had already reconquered the Spanish Peninsula, and they had their daughter Juana
Hmm.
who married a noble individual from this house. His name was Philip,
Hmm.
Philip the Handsome. And
El
so
Hermoso. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he married Juana La Loca, right? They
Juana la
call it.
Loca. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then they married, and then they had a child who was Charles the First of Spain
Hmm.
or the Fifth of Germany. So
Hmm.
here's the thing: Philip the Hermoso, Philip the Handsome, or this what the house he was representing here, he brought this patron saint uh, symbol over. He also had a lineage with the Holy Roman Empire, so
Right,
he had a very that's a big lineage, you know.
right, right.
So with this house, the Holy Roman Empire, the ancestry, along with the Spanish Empire, they all came together with this Emperor Charles the First. Actually, I think I have. Oh, I don't have it here, but I Charles the First, and so who actually ends up having one of the largest sovereignties the world has ever seen. Before the Protestant Reformation occurred, it actually happened when he was in charge,
The
and
heresy.
the heresy exactly. Oh, yeah, we should really
we
call it the
should
Protestant Revolution
we
because it
should
was a
do
revolution.
we should do an episode on that aspect of.
Whoa, brother, please get me started on
Oh
that. We
yeah,
will.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that is my cup of tea. Oh,
Oh
for sure.
really? Oh my
I
goodness.
used to be Protestant too. So I before becoming Catholic, right before. But yes, I got a special place in my heart for that. But yeah, the Protestant Revolution, right? And
Mhm.
so basically, because it was a revolution, it wasn't just a
Yeah,
reformation. It's not like they reformed the church. No, they openly revolted and
exactly.
caused many atrocities that weren't happening before the Protestant Reformation was happening. And then not to mention how much witch burning they committed afterward too. Something that was actually prohibited first by the Spanish Inquisition in
Mm,
1614 with the Inquisitor Alphonse. I'm gonna get this wrong. I should probably stick with the last name, Frias y Salazar.
mm,
And so anyways, that's where the cross of Burgundy comes from, and it's the first flag of the Spanish Empire. The first time it flies in open battles in 1525, but before that, they had already been decorating soldiers of the Spanish Empire with this symbol. Um, and so the little blades are like the little notches from the tree.
right,
And the red is for the blood of the
right.
martyrdom. And yes, and so it was used for the first time in 1525 in the Battle of Pavia, where
Mm,
the Spanish captured the French king and they held him ransom for his return to
right,
France.
right, right. There's
And
so
so,
yeah, there's so
mhm.
much badassery in this.
Oh,
So
so much.
so much badassery. I mean, you can point at any period in history and just dive in and get so inspired by it.
I
And
went to the in Madrid. I was there at the place where they held him ransom, the French king.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's a little plaza, and it's got another statue of someone else there. Alvaro de I can't remember the name. Basan, I want to say that he was the undefeated warrior, the undefeated military leader. I'll
Hmm.
look into it and I'll tell you later.
Right, right. And also how much this flag has inspired other flags, and particularly in the United States. Because if you didn't know what it
Mhm,
was, you'd think it's a Confederate flag, like a Southern
mhm,
flag, right? Because I'm sure
mhm.
a lot of people that see that get
That's the
confused. But
that
it's
is
the other,
true.
but it's the other way around.
Probably, yeah. They probably got their influence from that instead.
Hmm.
Yeah. I um I wanted to say something about this flag too, is that
Hmm.
what was I going to tell you? That now it's been adopted as the official symbol for Hispanismo, right? For
Hmm.
the work that we're doing, we're uniting all the different Spanish speakers, and it's interesting because my work is not a Chauvinism. It really is not, of like you said earlier, like licking the boots of Spain. Like that's not what this is at all.
Hmm.
This is understanding our common history because before the arrival of the Spanish, the Americas was divided in several nations, several different customs, several different religions, hundreds, different languages. Not all were working amongst each other. Many were oppressing others, and and many were held back with their technological advances. And it's not a rude thing to say. It's just that's just what it was. And so when the Spanish conquered and built the viceroyalties throughout the lands, is truly in this time period where we see an international superpower bring us all together, right? And then it's like that for a few hundred years.
Right.
So it's because it's a full on empire like the Roman
Right.
Empire, right? And
Right.
it's important to know this history, even to know modern world history. And I
Right.
always say ignorance of this Spanish history is ignorance of modern world history. You
Correct.
can't come at me and tell me that you know modern world history if you don't know this history at all, or if you're stuck in the Black Legend. So then what we see is with the independences, we see a balkanization of our people, right?
Hmm.
And who share the same religion oftentimes and the same exact language. It's so interesting how we've learned to fight against our own self-interest and hurt each other over these borders and these different these different oligarchs, for example. And so we see a lot of the bloodshed of Hispanic America, of South America, for example, with the republics, fighting that wasn't happening while it was the Spanish Empire. And then we
Right.
start to see more foreign interventionism
Right.
occur from
Right.
outside interests like English-speaking places and
Right.
French. And so they all start to come and they start to influence into our politics as well. So that's why it's important to talk about this
Hmm.
time period, right? It's not like we're living in the Spanish Empire's past. It's not like we're trying to make it all Spain again. No, that's not what we're doing here. We are
Right.
trying to recognize what brought us together and how we can go into the future understanding and also debunking a lot of the lies regarding this history because there's a lot to debunk.
Even though that is a very catchy slogan, make it all Spain again. Um, I wanted to mention something because what you said, it's so accurate. However, I want to hone on something that I think it needs to be said more. That the Spanish Empire wouldn't be the Spanish Empire if it weren't for the people of the Americas that
Okay.
got in that boat with them and said, you know what you're bringing here, I like what you're selling. I want to. You know what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
just the way that Hernan Cortez put an end to the horrific practice of those um, uh, the sacrifice, human
Yes.
sacrifice, was because he got band together with the people that were being
Yes.
oppressed and said, let's put an end to this,
Yes.
build something new, and we're
Yeah.
gonna burn our boats. So, if you burn your boats, you're basically family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right,
you're going forward. I know he what I think he dismembered the boats. I know there's the burn the boats thing, but yeah, he put them out of service,
right,
and then yeah,
exactly.
you're bound together. You're going to conquer, and there's another way back. You can't go back home to Cuba or wherever they were. Was it Cuba? I think they'd come from.
They hopped around from Hispanidad to Cuba, then they went to
Yeah,
Mesoamerica. Yeah,
exactly.
which is it's amazing the feat that they.
Oh, it's so amazing. So much there. And the complicity of the Native Americans, I think it's a very important thing, very important detail because it was happening all over the place.
Mhm.
Even in California here too. I've heard indigenistas, and when I say indigenistas too, by the way, I think people should understand. I'm not referring to Native individuals per se. I'm talking about activists, specific
Mhm.
individuals who are a little misguided in the over romanticization of
Yes,
pre-Columbian society, right? Because we all
correct.
know this was no happy Arcadia before the arrival of the Spanish.
Oh,
And so, anyways, but as you said, though, there were individuals like that. There were many people who were like that, many chiefs who brought their whole tribe to Hispanicity and to baptism. And oftentimes, as other historians have said, that when a chief will join, everyone follows, right? And it was like
right.
that for work as well. If the chief ordered something to be built, like immediately they would build it up for the chief,
Yeah,
um,
correct.
and which was merely a practice that was adopted by the Spanish later on. And so, anyways, yeah, as we were saying before, even in California,
Mm.
I've seen some individuals out here, even descendants of like California missions, who've been playing the victim card a lot. They get to taking all the credit for the missions that their ancestors built, right?
Hmm.
Not to mention that they have Spanish last names too, right, and Spanish first names. So
And
and
they
so they're
and they
very.
look it too,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, they look it too. Yeah, they look like maybe even like more European than I do, and
Right, right,
so
right, right.
it's very interesting. And so, but that whole chapter, they're like they don't know anything, but they don't speak Spanish. They don't
Hmm.
know. They've never delved into the archives. Sometimes individuals like that they skate on their ancestry to get them
Right.
where they're at now, but it doesn't mean that they've done the work
Hmm.
sufficiently enough to
Hmm.
understand and contextualize this history. So they end up going off of a lot of what popular media wants them to how they want them to think like victims,
Yeah,
and
correct.
maybe they are a victim to that type of thinking, right, to the
Hmm. Hmm.
derrotismo, to this defeatism, right. But in reality is that they were not mere survivors, these mission natives.
Right.
They were active participants in enforcing the mission rules
Hmm.
because they believed in something greater, because
Hmm.
they didn't want to, because it provided more hours for leisure as well when you have domestic what's the word, a sedentary lifestyle in this
Right.
way, which was very foreign to these types of Native Americans, and they were very nomadic here in
Right.
California. So, but that's what I'm saying. This is a common pattern we're seeing, where, and mind you, a minority of Spaniards, and Spaniards, we're not just talking white people right, from
Hmm.
Europe. We're talking mestizos,
Hmm.
for generations, individuals who came with a plan. Obviously, the missionaries were very specially picked for this type of work. But yeah, like the soldiers and many other individuals, they were a minority in compared and facing and coming and approaching groups of hundreds of Native Americans to ask them to come into the California missions. So it's very, yeah, very turbulent.
Jesus
But a lot of
Christ.
this, I know a lot of these, I don't know, perspective gets kind of lost in the whole. good guy, bad guy
Oh
talk,
yeah,
right?
of course, because the natives didn't have their own. They didn't have their own agency, right? They couldn't choose by themselves. Everything was under the gun or under the sword. They would
Uh-huh.
never choose by their own consciousness a better way of life, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Being, oh, that was a big one too, especially in the when you read the chronicles in Texas, a
Hmm.
lot of because the Apaches were attacking other native groups. You
Hmm.
have other very aggressive groups in
Hmm.
those areas, and a lot of them joined the missions in order to get further protection from
Hmm.
other Native Americans.
Correct.
And similar in California too, because California obviously didn't have Apaches, they didn't have such aggression in that to that scale, but they did fight with each other a lot for resources, for different things, different. And so we're often telling, even historians will often get into this talk about Pacific, ironic because they're on the Pacific coast, but no,
Right.
like peaceful natives in California, being forced into missions, and then being like living a terrible life in the missions after being living so abundantly outside of it. No, the reality is that a lot of them joined it too for that same interest too. For number one, the resources that
Mm.
alternative resources and a way of living,
Correct.
and also to get protection from other natives. And we have chronicles of that as well too. People admitting that. So yeah, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and you don't become a warrior by being peaceful. If we know the Native Americans being fearful
Smart.
warriors because they're used to it. They're doing it. They're fighting
Exactly.
with
Right.
someone.
That's right. That's a good point, man. That's a good. I'm gonna use that later.
Right.
I like that. But it's just but that's true. Everything you said is 100%. That makes total sense. Like you can't get all the credit, right? And then none of the blame either, right? Like so that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's kind of the overall message I've been saying
You
too.
don't get you don't get a helicopter named after your tribe without being aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay. Okay. So, in your view, what timeless values has the Hispanic tradition preserved that the modern world desperately needs?
I think, yeah, well, I think a lot of people will agree with me, even people who may not be Hispanic, but I think it has a very strong family value. Uh, I think that's very needed to, I mean, what is all this for if it's not for family, right? You're
Hmm.
defending society, defending our countries, defending the West, promoting the West, you know,
Oof.
so it goes beyond just being Hispanic. I think reevaluating our Hispanicity and our history is going to be key to our to solving the identity crisis that's happening throughout the whole modern West. And so I think we may have one of the more we might have a big advantage going into the future with our because of our family values, and our faith.
So, Zacarias, you think the West needs a reconquista?
Oh yeah, I do. I think a reconquista, yeah, and even if it's not physical at this point, I do think mentally for sure. I think there needs to be a different approach to life in general.
Right, right. So, how do we move Hispanic identity forward without getting stuck in the past?
Well, I think number one is telling the truth,
Oof.
talking about it,
Right.
learning, reading, encouraging each other, things like
Hmm.
this. Look at what we're doing. You're in the Dominican Republic. I'm
Right,
all the way in California. We're
right.
making strong connections with people around the world at this
Hmm.
point. I mean, this is just the beginning, and you never know how far this will go. And so, yeah, I think this is number one is relearning, re-educating, learning again and then seeing what projects, financial, ambitious projects, infrastructure, what we decide to do. I mean, I don't want to get into politics too much, but
Yeah.
this does spill into politics, and even indirectly, you don't necessarily know it came from
Hmm.
talks like these,
Hmm.
but you can see it clearly in how, for example, El Salvador is making links with Costa Rica right now,
Hmm.
or things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to like overhype anyone and take a choose size politically, but I'm just saying that
Hmm.
like these things matter, these talks matter, these connections matter because then you can start to see the next generation of leaders and political leaders, religious leaders, how they start to move a little differently,
Right.
strength,
It's all
courage.
fine. Yeah, it's all fine and dandy to talk about these things and romanticize them, but we
Wow.
need feet on the ground,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
making decisions and
Hmm.
policies that move us forward to or something that's um, that great idea that we have of brotherhood, right? It
Oh,
has.
totally. Totally. And I invite people who are not even Hispanic. I'll invite them, say, hey, at the end of the day, we got to take care of each other, right? We're neighbors. And there are certain bigger ideological threats out there
Mhm.
and other things out there. So I'm constantly trying to make alliances, right? But I think from our own standpoint, we got to have our own identity figured out very
Right,
strongly
correct, correct.
and and then to be ready for because it's gonna give us courage when the moment strikes.
Right. And yeah, I believe things like these types of talks, not only matter for within us, because at some point we're going to be preaching to the choir. We got to reach out to somebody else,
Hmm.
to our neighbors, like you said,
Hmm.
and make this a cool thing. Make
It is
this
cool. It is cool. I haven't like as I said, they're English people, all different types of people who they may be Catholics, but they're not Hispanic, and they're extremely interested in this work. And I think that's well, it's they're interested in supporting the work too, right? They're seeing an alternative history that it kind of that isn't it's not the typical cliche thing and I don't know depressing way of looking at life and
mm-mm,
history.
mm-mm,
It's a little outside of that box, and it's like
mm-mm.
it calls their attention. So yeah, I think it's just gonna be it's yeah, like you said, it's like yeah.
It's like a Red Bull for the soul. Not promoting that drink, but it's just an analogy. All right.
Red Bull. Okay.
El toro, right? So, Zacarias, what responsibility do filmmakers, writers, translators, people like you have toward Hispanic memory and future?
Well, I think. Yeah, big responsibility. I mean, a lot of what, because we live in a time, right, where everything's really fast paced with the
Hmm.
media, social media. So a lot of people are getting their information from TikTok videos and all kinds of like maybe movies. Um, and so yeah, documentaries, all this, the translating work, it's my translating work is completely inspired by what I've seen happen with the Black legend being in all this
Hmm.
media. So I've decided to take up some of the space for Hispanicity and translate a lot of the information that doesn't even exist in English at all. And
Right.
even many Hispanics who speak Spanish have never even seen some of these arguments put forward like this
Oh,
or
for
these lessons
sure, for
put forward.
sure. Oh, I've
So
learned so much in the last 6 months, it's not even funny. It's like I
yeah.
feel cheated out of my education. It's like, where was this information? At least presented, right?
At
It's
least
like,
present it.
yeah, it's fully out of the picture.
Yeah.
So today, when you think of home, Zacarias,
Mhm.
where or what is it for you?
Well, my home, yeah, my home for me is my family, wherever my family is. Uh, yeah, my food, obviously being, Hispanic, around other individuals like myself, that's home, share my values. My closest
Right,
friends, they're Hispanic Catholics too. We share a theology, and so it's
right.
something,
A
something,
worldview.
a worldview, right? So like
Mm,
we can be gone away from each other for months and months and come back and just we share that, and so that's home for me, right? My marriage, Catholic marriage, right? It's like till death do us part, So my daughter, and yeah, so it's important that yeah, this is all for that basically, man. This work that I do is all for our families.
correct. Well, you got a daughter. That's amazing. I didn't know.
You know that? Oh, I haven't. She's 9. She's gonna be 9 this year.
What? Oh, my
Yeah,
man is
she's
he's
tall too.
my man here is traditional with a capital T. He knew
Oh
what he
yeah.
was doing. Are you looking forward for another child or children?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're open to it. We're open to it for sure.
It's a Catholic way.
Yeah. Got to do my part, right?
Gotta do your part. I gotta do my part. I'm not even on the saddle yet, but like I say, God is preparing her for me because Lord knows she needs to be prepared.
Oh,
Anyway, so Zacarias, we've um
you're
have
funny, man. I appreciate
arrived
you.
I've right. I'm sorry.
I appreciate you. You're super funny, man. In both Spanish and English, you're hilarious. I love you.
Oh
You're
man,
so good.
I haven't even gotten started, but I want to keep this, you know.
Okay.
Do you have any last words before we finish this episode?
Yeah, I just want to, yeah, huge shout out to all the people who supported us, and supported my learning too. This individual right here, I recommend this book if you haven't gotten it, Presidio. It's a
Hmm.
really good book, man. Like it's very eye-opening. It talks about the conquest of what is now northern Mexico and southern United States. So and also Sinaloa too in the west. So
Hmm.
after the fall of Tenochtitlan, for many decades afterward, they continued to conquer different things, and it gives you much perspective on the different types of Native Americans and their different practices they were doing in the different areas that they encountered. They were all very different, but yeah, they
Well,
also were doing some, yeah, they all have their own
like, oh,
details.
they're humans, right? So,
They're humans, exactly. So like, and it just gives you perspective, like, oh, I see why someone would respond like this, oh, I see why,
because
like it just gives. Hmm?
yeah, Zacarias, that to be nuanced takes a
Hmm.
lot of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Takes a lot of wanting to learn, to sit down, to listen, and to have a critical mind. To
Yeah.
be an extremist doesn't take much. Just
No.
pick a side, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's an uphill battle
Hmm.
because we want people to be nuanced, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right. You're right. We want them. Yeah, we want them to stop hating themselves. They don't think they're hating themselves, but
First things first. Stop hating
they're not.
yourself.
Exactly, because that's what they're doing every time they say very generalized, extreme things.
Yes, yes. Stop hating yourself. Stop loving each other. Start loving your culture, spreading
Yeah.
it around, and I believe that Hispanicity will save the West, just like Zacarias said. So I'm just gonna give my closing line here. The past isn't gone; it rides with us. Thank you, Zacarias, and welcome to the Order of Leather Dragons. See you on the road. All right.